Hello, everyone. My name is Armando Perez-Carreno, and welcome to the Web Talk Show. Today with us is Juan García from Tuio. Welcome, Juan. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. I want to talk about Tuyo and what it means because, from what I understand, you built Spain's first AI native insurer. So, what does that mean? Let's get started with that.
Well, well, that's the only latest iteration from the company. We've been in market since 2021 because we just realized that there was this need in the market. There was this customer segment from 25 to 55, give or take. They're not very strict frontiers. We figured that this segment was underserved from current offerings because the current insurance offerings, at least in Spain, but probably almost everywhere in the world, are just very cookie cutter. So you just have this same product, doesn't matter the customer, doesn't matter this age, this segment, socioeconomic status. This is what you have. You either buy or you don't. And the onboarding process is the same for every customer, and it just doesn't work for this segment. When that's what we started to see, because now we used to just buy in online. I mean, we consume content through Netflix, we purchase our stuff on Amazon, we even buy our groceries online, right? So when you actually have to call a call center, or you actually have to go to a store to have just have your homeowners, we started the homeowners insurance, piece of insurance policy sold to you, it just didn't make much sense for us. So we started looking into this customer segment, and then we realized that it was a problem both from the customer side, but also from the industry side. We started looking at the profitability of different age cohorts, and what you would look at is that older cohorts, 60 plus, they're pretty profitable for insurance companies, and I'm sure this is the same everywhere in the world. These are customers that see price as a proxy for quality. These are I mean, we all see price to a given extent as a proxy for quality. These are customers that don't use the product as much. They are not as careful to see what the product entails. They're more trusting from brands. Whereas if you look at the younger cohorts, we are relying a lot, and I'm saying we because I'm obviously one of those. You are as well. We're relying a lot. We tend to browse and compare on price comparison websites when we're looking at insurance, and that put pressure on prices because you're going to charge as much as older cohorts. We also, since we're comparing a lot, we tend to look at the trust pilots of the world and to look at reviews, and then we tend to build financial literacy through comparison. So we're pretty aware of what the policy in this case entails, and what are different coverages and what's covered and what's not. So since you know more of what you're purchasing, then you also know more of what is covered, and you tend to use the product more. The product penetration in these age cohorts larger, right? So this also puts pressure on your bottom line because you have to pay out more claims, which is what the product's for. Don't get me wrong, but still, you get this result that you get one customer segment that is not happy by the way you're treating them, and you get no incentive to invest in this customer because, well, the reality is that it's not profitable for you because it puts pressure on your top line and your bottom line. So we found this great problem to work at, and that's how we built Tuyo, because we had this insight that if you give them a self-service data-based platform to buy and manage and just do everything related to their basic insurance needs, and the basic, I mean, we started the homeowners, then term life, because obviously it's very close to homeowners through mortgages and everything else. Then we looked at pet health, which is a very growing business line. And then we are looking at auto and probably travel by the end of the year. So yeah, this is us. And since when we were building our digital first platform, then all the ENAI about a couple of years ago, which seems like ages ago, but then ChatGPT only became really known a couple of years ago. Then it was the new and best technology that came over. Then we started thinking, how can we do better with this technology? And that's why we're here today, just showing up on our message to the world.
That is great because I have seen that experience where shopping for insurance, wherever you are, it's like, okay, so I need something for the car or for homeowners, and I have to call someone. And so I have to wait on hold or have someone call me at a maybe inconvenient time and then let's see if I like the person or not. And then you have to go through the whole process, and they have to go and check something and get back to you. And you don't know if they really checked all the choices or they just gave you the ones that were easiest, right? So I like the online approach. I remember when we were renting, I found Lemonade, or I heard about Lemonade over here. I'm like, that sounds interesting. And I went in and everything was done on an app or something. And it was so quick and so easy that I expect that's sort of the type of experience that you're giving your users. And as a user, it's very welcome.
Oh, for sure. It's Lemonade is obviously one of the inspirations that we took to bring that type of experience to Spanish market, but in Southern European market, and yeah, it's one of those things that you don't even know how much you are supposed to pay for a piece of insurance, right? There isn't even any transparency in the market, so that's an additional issue with the product, right? It's just like, why I cannot know what it's supposed to be cost before I even talk with anyone. But I think it's the only real market that you have anything like this happening, right? Like it's online. It's just, products are not online really. So it's just
Yes.
for us was very surprising to say the
It
least.
is. It is very surprising. It's like, well, insurance in general, right? Healthcare and all that as well. But when we talk about this, we find it very ridiculous that you can't just give me a price, or I can just look up a price. Well, makes no business sense. Why would I? And so I really like, from your website, it says, like, in Spanish, I see ver my precio, like I want to see my price, and I click it, and then it'll start this. I guess it'll start like a flow, right? It'll ask me some questions and things like that, and then eventually, I expect I would get some sort of pricing upfront, right? I like that as a
Yeah.
customer. What how how can you manage that? Like, how can a company actually manage something in an industry where everyone else is doing it differently? How were you able to jump that hurdle to be able to offer something that nobody else practically was offering?
Well, so there's a few things that we were doing here, and one of them was, as I said, is just trusting that people know what they're purchasing.
Mhm.
There was this mantra in the industry, at least in Spain, when we started, that said, they used to say that industry is not bought, is sold, right? So there's this mantra that to buy a particular piece of insurance, you just need to go through brokers, and you need all these complex products, and you can put coverage, you can take out coverage, and we started from the thinking that, I mean, if you need a homeowner's policy, it doesn't have to be that complex. You just have two flavors at most, with all the traditional coverages that someone may want. You explain it very carefully and very transparently, and you give a price, and that's it. And there will be customers that won't be for you, and that's okay, because if you are designing for this particular, in our case, age segment of 25 to 55, which is not really an age segment, it's just, as I said before, the proxy for an online behavior,
Mhm.
then you know what you can show them, you know how to show them, or at least you're continuously iterating, show them, and then you show the price, and you hope for the best and that they like your product and they end up purchasing it. That that's the way any online business works, right? So
Mhm.
I think we brought this product based kind of thinking to
Mhm.
insurance that, at least in Spain, wasn't very successful before, because what you would find is that you would have the same offline type of product just put online, and that doesn't work because there's too many options, too cumbersome, takes a lot to purchase, a lot of questions, and we are another thing that we brought in. We simplified the onboarding process, just pulling data from different public data sources. So you have to be a little bit creative and a little bit forward thinking, or at least just come from a technology background, like a product tech type of business, just to implement that in insurance. Because I mean, in the end, it seems very obvious, but it wasn't really at the time, as it wasn't when Lemonade started, for example, in the US. So you coming over from a tech side of a product based tech side of the industry, you just applied insurance, and it seems very easy to improve on what was going on before. But you had to do it, right?
And of course, but also how, I mean, you have to have the creativity, the knowledge in the industry, of course, but also the daring to go into an industry that is so regulated and so controlled by a few specific participants.
Yeah, one of my co-founders, Jose Maria, he says all the time that you have to be an entrepreneur, you have to be very courage, but you also have to be a bit naive.
Mm-hmm.
Just to you have to have courage to just jump into trying to solve problems that nobody has solved before, but you also have to be naive
Mm-hmm.
to just not be aware of the actual complexities of it all. You just go in there and then you just stumble into the different difficulties as you go along and you try to solve them. But if you're looking at, if you have complete knowledge of what it's going to entail in the next 2 years, you maybe don't start. So that's why you
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of, at least from us, none of us, we were aware of insurance, but we weren't from the insurance industry. I was working in tech before, and I built an insurance business for a telecommunications company when I was working there. So I just realized that there was a lot of issues, but I didn't have that in-depth knowledge of why things had to be the way they were. And Jose Maria said he was consulting for insurance, and Aziz, our third co-founder, Aziz says the geeky of the three, he was working as a modeling and in data, but we didn't have a complete end-to-end view that someone that's worked in insurance his whole life would have. So some of the issues that we encounter along the way, we just didn't even imagine them, right? And that's why we started, because if not, maybe we wouldn't have.
I like that. I like the concept of needing to be a little bit naive. We were touching on that on a recent episode where we're talking about AI in the enterprise and in business and things like that, and where it is great sometimes to let the AI, to put it in the same context, be naive, in the sense of, we were talking about the example of having let's say, an outreach campaign. I was working on an outreach campaign, and it was going through businesses in a certain city and things like that, right? If I see the list, I might see a specific museum or something that I like and be, I don't know, maybe I won't send that one, right? But the AI doesn't care because it's being naive. So it'll just go through the whole list. And so that happened. And it was eye-opening for me. We talked about it in the other episode, where I start getting replies from some of these organizations. And I said, what? I didn't like the thing sent, right? But it was very good to see, wow, yeah, sometimes you stop yourself because you know things, and you shouldn't, especially being an entrepreneur.
Oh, for sure, for sure. That's the actual same example. I mean, we're not. I don't think we are more intelligent than anybody else. I just think we were courageous and naive in 2021 when we started. That's basically it.
That's also starting anything to do with health in 2021 is audacious, to say the least.
Yeah. I remember vividly how my mom told me, like, so we are not outside of COVID, and you're telling me you are starting a business online, and we don't even know when we're even going to be. I mean, we were still within our homes when we decided to start it. So it's like, oh yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we may as well.
That's amazing. And you serve Spain specifically, or you
Yeah.
mentioned Southern Europe?
We serve currently Spain,
Mm-hmm.
personal lines. As I said before, we are looking to expand into Southern Europe. We see a gap in Southern Europe that we didn't see in northern countries within Europe. If you look at the UK, you look at the Netherlands, you look at the Nordics or Switzerland or Germany. There are companies similar to us. Competition. I mean, there's the traditional players like
Mm-hmm.
in Spain or Southern Europe, but there's also a new breed of players in all those different all those different countries, because their access to capital is better. It's larger. The insurance business as part of GDP is a larger chunk. I think the UK, if I'm not wrong, it was like double the penetration from Spain. So it's just they're more developed in terms of actual purchasing insurance. And when you look at southern countries, we're just not. And it has to do with the number of policies, but also the prices and the premiums. So it's just like what if you look from a strategy standpoint, you wouldn't start by the countries around the Mediterranean, but for us, it's an opportunity because we are from one of those countries. And then when you look at Portugal, you look at France, you look at Italy or Greece, I mean, for us, there are great opportunities because there are only the traditional players, right? So the competition is going to weigh less. So we think, even if we think insurance is not a winner takes all type of market,
Hmm.
it's always better just to have less competition.
Right. Right.
So
And
we will be looking into expanding starting from the second half of this year,
Mhm.
probably.
Very nice. What does it take to run an insurance company? Are most players the insurance company, or are some aggregators of sorts where they grab from multiple companies, sort of as a broker, to get things? Like, just for the listeners and myself, we have no idea how that industry works.
Right,
So if you could tell us, that would be as well.
right. So we do a bit of everything. We are not a broker. We are what's called an agency here in Spain and in Europe. There's this regulated figure that you can basically do as much as you want, or you are able to negotiate with a reinsurer from the value chain. And we are lucky to have great partners in Allianz and CISA to do almost everything basically, because we believe that to build our model, yeah, we have to do everything because it is a closed loop from claims towards marketing and underwriting. So it's just like having the whole view of the business helps us to improve it nonstop in a closed loop type of fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So what we are is we do all that, but the balance sheet it's basically our partners. So we structure it financially. So we pay them a fee obviously to use their balance sheet, but that's what we are. That's how Lemonade started as well. So
Mm-hmm.
this is a figure that I think it's worldwide, just to further further innovation. So it started as figures that when an insurance company didn't know a particular potential risk, for example, and one of my partners always talks about whaling whaling boats. They
Yes.
would basically go to someone that knew whaling boats and they knew all the figures, all the numbers, and they could, with their underwriters, could figure out how to price that risk, and that person would run the business for them. So it's
Mm-hmm.
basically the same. That's how I just started, and we're using them rather than just to price and run a particular risk. We're using them to just improve on the way we price and risk a particular customer segment.
That's very interesting. And I see that. Like, you can see here, for example, there's Tesla has Tesla insurance for the cars, right? But if you get a policy, someone gets a policy with them, you'll realize that once the policy is actually generated, regardless of you interacting with Tesla, the company, Tesla Insurance, they are underwriting it via someone else, right?
Right.
Or there's layers to it, right? And so that makes sense. Like, you are providing the face, the experience to the person, and maybe even the management of the account, etc. But at the end of the day, the big investment of like who handles all that is one of the major players in this space. Is that
It depends. It
similar?
depends.
Okay.
It depends. It is. And as I said, you can negotiate as much to absorb as much as of the business you
Okay.
want. Some
Mm-hmm.
players will just only distribute. Some players will design the product and distribute. Some players, just like us, we do the full end to end. We just design the product, we distribute it, we manage all your claims, and we even do the customer service, right? So we
Wow.
do end to end. It's just the only thing we don't do is we are not a fully licensed insurer, because for companies is more like ours, it doesn't make financial sense. So this is, I mean, the return profile of a full insurer, because you have to, at least in Spain, you have to have this liquid money just resting on a bank account, just to make sure that you can actually handle claims if something weird happens or too or massive happens.
Mm-hmm.
So that just having, if you raise, for example, I don't know, 10 million euros, and then you have to just keep on a separate account 4 million euros to just ensure that you have the liquidity, which makes sense from a regulation standpoint, to make sure that you are able to cover all the different risks. For a startup, it doesn't make much sense, and that's why Lemonade started this way. We started this way, and a lot of other companies, Hippo in the US as well, started this way. So there's a lot of companies start this way, and then when you get past the critical mass, then it makes sense to you just to
Mm-hmm.
internalize everything and just to build up your own balance sheet and your structure financially.
That makes sense. Okay, so you can go that route. So if you want to, as a company that's working like yours, you can decide, okay, we have the critical mass. It makes sense now to become a full-fledged insurer or something like that. Super interesting. What is what we briefly touched on AI before. How does AI fit into the picture here in the insurance space?
Right. So we've done a few things. We started like as everybody else, and I think it's mostly everyone, not just in insurance, it's everyone. Everyone starts dealing with AI as a matter of pursuing cost to serve efficiency. It's just efficiency. This is like how can you reduce operating costs for your business? And we did that as well. We started with what we would call now a text agent. And at that
Mm-hmm.
point in 2028, in 2024, we call a chatbot.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Yes.
now, it just do way more things than just a traditional chatbot. But then we had this, in 2023, we had this epiphany in a way in 2024 when we just looked at the cost structure of insurance. You see
Mm-hmm.
that cost to serve, like the operating costs of the business is just 10% of your cost
Mm-hmm.
base. If you look at marketing, looking at investment and cost together, if you look at marketing and claims, it's 85% of the business of your cost base. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you can reduce your operating cost by 50%, you're only getting what, five percentage points of profit margin. I mean, and that's given that you're able to reduce 50% of an already streamlined business that's been running for a long time, right? So when you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at that 85% that's marketing and claims, then you start thinking differently about the way to deploy AI. Because if you just can improve on that just 10%, you don't need more. You're even improving on that 5 percentage points for your profit margin. So we started looking at that way, and we figured out that instead of chasing pure cost to serve efficiency, we should be looking at how to use AI to make better decisions. And for us, making better decisions is just improving on the allocation of that 85% of our cost structure. And we're looking at three levers. We're looking at growing more efficiently, how we can invest in marketing better.
Mm-hmm.
Then underwriting smarter. How can we get all these different pieces of data and we can use it to just price better and operate better? Because it's just not only pricing. There's things that we do with underwriting that doesn't always reflect in price. It's just we flag customers and for all sorts of things, and then we use them when we manage claims. And then how we can manage claims more efficiently, more effectively, sorry, not efficiently. And that's how we started looking into these things. And we've built an agent for each one of those levers, or not only agents, as we use all other AI technologies. And that's what we think is neat, that we were able to figure that bolting AI into an existing insurance business process wouldn't work, or at least it wouldn't work to the extent that we wanted it to work. We had to re-engineer how our own company would work, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a bit traumatic, even if we were small at the time. We just changed how we thought about the business, because then AI is just not an additional piece that you put to make your business run better. AI is how we run our business now. It's just core to the way we think about our business, and we start thinking. And when you start thinking about that way, then you figure out that all the things that you can do now will just give you superpowers.
That's very true. What I really like about the AI movement is that it's not here to replace people or anything like that, like some doomsday people say. It's a tool to help you make those people that you have be better, right? Be more efficient, such that it will give you more revenue to get more people and to do more things better, and not have people doing repeatable, redundant tasks that they shouldn't be doing anyway. At least that's my take on it. But I really like the fact that now, like you were saying, instead of fitting yourself into a box of a software that somebody built for an industry 50 years ago, you can now mold the software to you, right? Or the tool or the AI, so that it helps you run your business better, more efficiently, and help the whole ecosystem, right? And I would like to hear some examples on your side, but I can see it clearly on the software side where just day-to-day activities, like somebody can call in with a bug, right? And they can say, oh, this thing isn't doing this other, maybe it's a course platform. And they say, oh, this person was supposed to be assigned this course, but it's not doing it. We don't know why. We're trying to replicate it. Before, it would take a whole debug process. Now, we can open an agent in the code base, say, hey, for this person, this is happening. What's going on? The thing will scan the whole code, look at that person's profile, find the fields that are making that mismatch and say, hey, you forgot this edge case. It should have this there. 2 seconds, literally, you have the solution. And whether you wanted to fix it itself or just fix it yourself, it doesn't matter. It gave you the solution in 2 seconds. So that's like in my space, that's how much better you're doing with AI. Can you give us some examples of how AI can help in your side?
So cloud is amazing. That's probably what you were getting to. And yeah, we use it and some of the stuff they can do, it's just incredible. So basically we do kind of the same, not the same thing, but similar process you described. It's just for our business processes. So for example, I think claims is a great example. Then from claims, which is where we started, then we can move to marketing or underwriting. So claims, so when you think about a claim, it doesn't really follow a straight line. It's just, it branches out depending on the coverage, the severity within a single coverage. If there are fraud signals, which you can look at, that are third parties, if they're expert, if they're repairs, there's this whole context of things that can be happening at the same time that if you were looking at automating claims with previous technologies, it would build this crazy amount, very complex tree, because that's what previous technologies would build. They would build a tree from A to B to C. The neat thing about AI is that you don't really have to limit yourself to a tree, because what Gen AI in particular deals with very well is the non-deterministic cases, and I mean, a claim is just, as I said before, it's just a crystal clear case of a non-deterministic business process. So when we're playing with it, what we're looking at, so what you would think about in a claim, even if it's not a tree, what you could see are stages, different stages. So you get different inputs and you can use for outputs. And Gen AI is something that does this type of task very well. So you give that the machine, the agent in this case, we call it Watson, because I mean the helper of Sherlock Holmes, because it's obviously investigating with this magnet, with this little magnet, a given claim. So you feed all this context from a given claim, and we use it in jointly with our claim process. So to file a claim in Tuio, you have this DL process. It's self-service again. You don't have to call us. You can call us, but you don't need to. So 85% of our customers just file it digitally. You just take the video or you take some pictures, and you can even send us a voice note about what's happening and explain everything. And you get all these different files. And if it's something that you got stolen, then you send us the police report. So there are all these different things that you can send us. And once we get all that, then you just file your claim. So we make Watson go through all of that, through the videos, through your explanation, through different pieces of data that you've sent us. And then there, it pulls also from a customer, like the context of the customer, how long he's been a customer from us, all the different interactions through phone or through chat. If there is any payment extent that he hasn't been able to fulfill. So you get all these different data, and then you get, for example, atmospheric data if there's a water damage, and you get the customer navigation patterns, things that you wouldn't think that are relevant, but maybe they are. So you get all these different pieces of information, and this is something that Gen AI technology, I mean, LLMs do very well. They go through all of that, and we have these manuals on how we think at every stage claims should be treated. So he goes through all of that, he gets a manual, and he gives us recommendations of next steps. So we basically build a next best action machine. And if your listeners are aware of marketing, this is something that has been built for a long time for marketing, but we built that as a core principle of how we deal with claims. So we got this next best action machine, and then he proposes actions with a confidence level and we decide automating on how confident the machine is with these recommendations. And there's several recommendations, like, for example, updating reserves. Reserves is the projection that you think a given claim is going to cost you. So this is something that doesn't have any customer impact. So to just update that, you just need a very low level of confidence. So you can do it very easily. And for a rejection, for example, we just don't do that. We just don't automate rejections ever. And this is a matter of principle. This a customer, when you have to unfortunately reject this claim because it's not covered or because whatever, the claim more often than not does exist. It's just that it's just not covered because of the product that is purchased. So he is very vulnerable. And you want to be humane and you want to be empathetic in the way you deal with the given customer. So this is something that, for example, we will never automate, or at least as long as I run product in this company. But there are other that we can automate with different levels of confidence. And so yeah, we get all these different at every stage of the claim. We get all these inputs, we treat them, and then we have these outputs. Some of them we have to have a human in the loop to just approve them. Some of them they're just gonna be approved automatically, and this obviously evolves with time because we get better and the machine gets better, and we just get this feedback loop from our current adjusters that review the recommendations. Like, oh, this is not what I thought it should be doing. So we just we can reject the recommendations from Watson, and they have to write down why, so we can feed that back in the feedback loop. So yeah, we instead of building like a tree in a way of we used to be talking about automation, we're building agents, NBA machines that they actually advise us how to deal with different claims, and some of them are fully automated end to end because all the decisions can be automated. For example, stovetops, when they're broken, that's something we cover. And they're really easy because you have the video, you have the picture, you can just see if it's a real picture, if it's a real video, because fraud, it's on pictures and on video. We can talk about that. Then you see the brand, for example, from the picture. You just figure out how the amount it cost when it was bought, and then you just pay it back. And then it's really easy and really fast to do. And sometimes that same type of claim, a stovetop, then the picture is not as good, and or you see something weird with the pictures, or something that we find very often is that the picture was taken before the policy was purchased.
Yes.
Which is not, I mean, it's just trying to like trick the system a little bit, but this is something that we have to worry about. So maybe it rejects it, or there's something weird. So even for the same type of claim, we can deal with it differently because we've built this agent as opposed to building an automation tree. And yeah, that's a neat example and that's how we started moving from efficiency towards better decisions.
That's a great example. For listeners, the reason you don't want it, sometimes you do need a decision tree. You want things to be discrete and very specific and very practical, and that's okay. The thing is, managing it as complexity grows becomes even more complex, and then the system becomes a monster. So there are certain scenarios where this makes a lot of sense, like Juan was explaining, because like the whole flow you mentioned, imagine how much time it would have taken everyone in that loop to first get the pictures, look at them, check some of them, go through a checklist, send it to someone else. They go through another checklist, then they go through claims, then they review. Now they have to see the brand. They go back to the pictures, check the brand. They have to go online, find how much that is. Where now all that flow can be automated, even the research to find out prices, and even like recent prices if you want to be, I don't know, you want to make sure or whatever, and that there's no spike or I don't know. You can do a lot of things now, and what you were saying is very real and very true. That now if you have that feedback loop, the thing can learn more. So it's not locked. If there's a mistake and you reject something, you can either just reject it and it's a soft rejection, or you can say, depending on how you set it up, you can say, "Oh, learn from this. This should not have been this way," and then next time it won't make the same mistake.
Yeah, that's exactly right. One of the things that, and this is not very popular, but the way we build the process now, you could even, it's not tree-based, it's task-based in a way, which, as I said, it completely changes the way you think around these processes. But also, we always design with a human-in-loop approach because we think there are things that we don't know. I mean, there's things that we don't know. So there's always going to be something new, and we will probably need to figure out. And we still are better for that. But we you can think about the process now as Watson is a master of the process, and then the human in the loop is just another tool of the process. And if you think about it, it's just, or at least we like to think about it, it's just it changes completely the way you think about the process itself.
That makes sense. And if you think about it that way, the nice thing is eventually if you need to automate it, since you're already seeing that as part of the flow, then it could be automated for some steps. And then for not, I really like that you're doing that where you're doing it for human, moral, principle reasons, that some things you just don't want it to automate because it might do it well, but it might not. And the feeling of rejection for someone with a claim is something that nobody wants to go through. So it's better for someone to call you, explain the situation, or just handle it in a more human way. And I think that's another thing. Like if you're passing some of your work to these agents, to AI, to software, to whatever you want to call it, then that opens up more time for your human staff members to actually interact with the customers and not be burnt out by all the back and forth of like just going and data capture and doing menial tasks. They can actually be focusing on servicing the client.
Yeah. You just have the person where it adds more value. And if you definitely are not adding as much, but you have more value dealing with the person than, right, just as you said, you just need to go online, just look at the different pieces of information, you watch a video, you need to go and look at the different models, and you just need to figure out the amount of price that, and the indemnification that you were going to give to the person. The value add really for us is, or at least the way we think about it, is just in difficult, complex cases and the human factor. And that's where we think our people are just adding more value to business.
So let's look at it from the other side. What do your customers think? What do people think of working with a company that is more upfront with things, that gives self-service, that maybe uses AI to give them better service? Have you had any feedback from your customers saying like, oh, this is a better experience than before, worse?
We do try to quantify everything. And one of the things that kind of told us that we were in the right path was we started to see, we work with Trustpilot a lot. And for those that don't know, Trustpilot is like a review website. You can do a lot of neat things with the integrating through the website, and all the reviews are validated, so they're true. For us as insurance, it's a trust business, then we thought that we better get as many reviews as we could. We started seeing people actually give us good reviews with Leia. Leia was that initial text agent that we deployed over WhatsApp. And we started seeing reviews like saying like, oh, thank you, Leia, because you helped us very well. You told me perfectly what my coverage were. And we started seeing more and more those types of reviews, which were surprising because people were thinking that it was a person that was replying to them. So that was like, oh, this is something. And then we started looking at the NPS from the conversation where Leia was able to finish and where you needed to have a person. And we saw 15 points top from Leia only and Leia plus person. And obviously there's some bias there because the Leia plus person type conversations tend to be more difficult topics or rejections or things like that. But we never thought we would have a larger NPS. And that's, 15 points, it's a lot. And for those that know about NPS, and 15 points is a lot. So we those two things in conjunction, we saw it kind of told us, oh, we're onto something here, and we were very careful at the very beginning on where to deploy and which things it could do and which things it couldn't. For example, we didn't deploy voice because we didn't think the technology was there. So that was somewhere humans still had the advantage. And we are deploying it now because the technology is way more advanced, and LiveKit and 11 Labs are amazing companies, amazing technologies. But also there were several things that we didn't want Leia to deal with in 2023 when we started building this text agent. We didn't want it to do anything with payments, for example. If someone had an issue with the payment, it would just identify that and go straight to a person because, there isn't anything more critical for a person that is money. Well,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
family and stuff, but at least dealing with an insurance company. So
Mhm.
that was something that we didn't want it to deal at the beginning. Claims, if there was a question about a claim, it would also be something that we would forward to humans. And you have to be very, I don't want to say delicate, but you have to be very purpose, purposeful on
Mhm.
where you deploy the technology, and it has to serve a business initiative, not just deploying technology for the sake of deploying technology, which is a risk that you can actually incur when with AI, because it does so many things so well that you
Mhm.
maybe just deploy it for the sake of deploying it, and it's just not improving
Yeah.
as much as it should. And you shouldn't be working on something. You should be working on the things that are going to impact your business the most. And I mean, with this technology, you can do anything. So yeah, that's another layer where the human brain is still at least for the moment does better than the technology.
That's a great point. You don't just want to put in new technology or AI or anything like that into a company for the sake of it. We want to, like Juan said, have a good, valid business reason, or customer reason or whatever. But it has to be a real reason and a real outcome that you're looking for before you do it. But once you do it, and if it's the right thing to do, then efficiencies could definitely grow, and then customer experience too. And I imagine in your industry, it's very similar as well. But I see in particularly like healthcare. I know you're not specifically in healthcare, but you have this waiting room experience or even on the phone hold experience where I want to ask something or maybe I want to make an appointment and I'm sitting there 30 minutes on the phone until someone answers the phone. And so when technologies come in and allow me to either self-service book via an app or call a voice agent or use a chatbot like you were saying and help me just do the action that I wanted to do quickly instead of waiting in line. And then also have the staff focus on the important things, like actually talking to people about claims, about other stuff instead of scheduling. That all that is really helpful in the space, at least from my experience as a user, as a customer.
For sure, one of the things that we realized when we started looking at implementing that text based agent is that 85, and we could, and this was throughout several months, we could automate 85% of our customer inquiries over
Wow.
WhatsApp.
Wow.
But that's only, and this is not because we tried to overreach. It's because most of the questions were again and again the same type of questions. It's like, oh, is this
Mhm.
covered? In I have issues with that one. Do you do this? Do you do that? How do I use the app? How do I purchase? Are you safe? Who do you have behind as a reinsurer? So what you could see is that there were no. I mean, we had done a decent job in terms
Mhm.
of the actual product. Um, but there were questions about the coverages and the very detailed, nuanced type of offering, and you just got that, and then you could have the people, our customer service agents, just deal with, oh, I couldn't pay this. Can you change my credit card? I had this issue with my bank, and we just rejected the policy. Can you help me? And all these different things that were really important and were really delicate for the customer. So you could have your people on that 15% of the actual inquiries, and then 85% just because they were, let's say, more automatable inquiries. You can just have the
Mhm.
agent deal with them.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
it's exactly in the process you described. It's just on a different through a different channel in a way.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I wish more companies would go into. We were just talking this morning with well, Mike. He's on the show a lot. Also, we do a lot of live streams together sometimes, and we're talking with someone else about the fact that AI space is moving so fast. And if you are in the space, you feel like, oh, I'm falling behind. Like there's so many things happening and like have to go ahead. But then you just step out of it a little bit and nobody knows anything. Like the rest of the world has no idea. So there is, yes, you hear about ChatGPT and other things, but I think there's still a lot of value to be gained for businesses and organizations to just start playing around with it and seeing how it can actually come in and help your same employees be more efficient or do things, even reduce human error and things like that. Like humans are amazing and our brains are the best thing that has ever existed. Still, we cannot replicate it. So why are we using it for menial tasks, right? We want our brain to be used for more advanced tasks, more complex tasks, more human tasks, things that require empathy and things like that. And then the rest, the machine can do, right? So at least that's my point of view.
Yeah, for sure. We have a lifetime of context and the different LLMs, even though the context windows are larger, they're still limited.
So much. That's an excellent point. They're extremely limited compared to what we can do, right? So this is amazing. Juan, Alex, I mean the whole reason we do this show is to make it a possibility for people to understand an industry like yours, Juan, where specifically an industry like insurance, we are all outside. We have no idea what's going on. It's like just a black box. And having someone like you come on, I really appreciate it because it is a way for us to start seeing, oh, okay, so there's people behind this. And that's what I like to see. There's always people behind any company, even the companies you hate. There's always people there. So if you hate a company, typically it's because of an experience you had with a specific person, but not with the company itself. And there's so many moving parts. And I always like talking to people in different industries. And this one is one that can be delicate because people either love their insurance or hate their insurance or they're some just really don't care. They just buy, like you were saying, they just buy the product because I'm used to, I've done it for 60 years, right? But getting an insight, this has been really helpful, at least for me, I hope for the listeners as well, Juan, for you to explain really what goes on behind the scenes and how companies like yours are making the whole experience better. And also, I expect even more affordable for people.
Yeah, it is definitely more affordable. This is one of those things that when we stated, most the people that listen to us are just surprised. We tend to be on average 15 to 20% cheaper than the competition, given a similar set of coverages. But we are operating, and this is from homeowners only, and because it's the one that we've done the longest, and I think the one that's more stable. We are running it at 3 times the average profit margin that competitors are running in Spain, even with higher prices. And this is all because we are doing all these different things, and we are designing for this particular customer segment with in mind. And sometimes we just have to say no. I mean, we don't say it, but it's just sometimes you just don't find in us the actual experience that you want, and it happens to us all the time that someone calls and asks, can you do this quote for me? My address is blah, 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 and whatever X, Y, Z. And it's like, no, we don't do that. You have to do it through the onboarding process because it gives us, that's the way we set up our business. And sometimes you just, this concept of firing your customers. We unfortunately have to do that because we are not for everyone, and we are happy not to be, we're not happy to have we would love to be able to serve everybody, but we just don't because we do these explicit decisions. We take explicit decisions on how we run our business and our product, and that's what's enabled us to serve a customer segment that is not profitable for almost every company, and to run it 3 to 4 times more profitably than anybody else. So there's that.
That's amazing. And I can actually attest to what you're saying because I'm reading through your Trustpilot, and I laughed while you were saying it because one of the reviews I saw, somebody was saying like they left a good review regardless. They said they couldn't get coverage because of their occupation, something like maybe whatever. But it said, regardless, the question, it's in Spanish, but regardless, the questions have been perfectly covered by La Señorita Leia. Right.
See?
So they were happy with the service, even though for their specific occupation or whatever, it wouldn't have worked out from what you're saying, right? It makes sense. But they still had a good experience with the product, and they even talked about the name of the agent, which is funny. That's amazing. Juan, thank you so much for joining us today. If people want to learn, I know we have listeners in Spain, which I found very interesting. Last year, I had no idea until someone reached out, and that was a lot of fun. So if someone wants to learn more about Tuio and how it works and maybe where they can get some coverage and things like that, where can they find you? What's the best place to find content or about your company?
Yeah, our website, tuio.com, tuio.com, and our socials, which are Somos Tuyo in Spanish. So yeah, they can find us there, or just look Tuio online. I think there's a coding agency in Mexico, so we're not that. We're the insurance company in southern Spain, or in southern Europe. Sorry.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we'll see everyone in the next one.